Detroit Den 313. What's up? I'm back. It's your boy Will. Doing what I told you I was gonna do. I'm back for the first episode of what I am calling Midnight Madness. Shout out to guys that have reached out to me in the comments, just talking about this thing and always trying to give me the best advice with the best intentions. A few of you guys reached out to me and said, "Man, why are you gonna release it at midnight?" I know there's a few people that will be interested, but that's not the prime time to be releasing content. My boy Steve is releasing stuff during the day, and to be honest, I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm just getting on to talk about the team that I absolutely love at a time that I feel like is an open time slot and people need fresh content at this time. But that said, it did bite me in the butt today because Steve and I have not got the opportunity to talk about what we would be talking about. And of course, today, Steve hit on a subject that I had prepared my show for today. We weren't in the same exact lane, and you'll see that as I move forward, but it's similar. So, without further ado, and you've seen the thumbnail, I am talking about none other than the Sione Vaki. But I'm not only talking about Sione. I'm talking about what I perceive to be a battle that's going to be coming up here in training camp. I think while there is other backs in that running backs room, I think that the RB3 is going to boil down to Sione and Craig Reynolds. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Who do I feel like is going to be the creme de la creme? Who is going to rise to the top of that RB3 position and win that job, man? Because I truly, while we've done it in the past, I don't see the Detroit Lions just carrying a fourth running back. And I feel like that's exactly what Sione is. Um, Earlier today, Steve put out a show. If you did not see it, I will link it to this show so you can see what I'm talking about. But Steve said a few things, and a couple of you have commented and alluded to this. And this is a day where I really wish we would have had the opportunity to be together because there's a couple things that Steve said that I disagree with. And that's not taking anything away from what Steve's beliefs are and his opinions. Because most of the time we're on the same page, but today he said a couple of things that I kind of disagree with. One was Sione playing a huge role for the Detroit Lions. I've been super high on Sione Vaki. I believe both of us mocked him in our mock drafts. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was the only player that we both had, or it was either him and one other player, maybe. But I believe our final mock drafts, Sione was the only player that we both had in our mock drafts. But and even though I'm high on him for what he is. Earlier today, Steve made mention to the fact that he thought that Sione was going to play a huge role for the Detroit Lions, and that Sione could play, multiple positions or all these positions on the football field. And it's just not what I believe at the NFL level. Sione at the University of Utah was a dog. He was a guy who played some safety. He was a guy that played some running back. He's a guy that even got a couple passes at receiver, and he played receiver in high school. But to me, when I watch the film, I just don't see a guy at the NFL level that's truly going to contribute in somebody's secondary. Now, if we get into an emergency moment, can he go out there and play in the secondary? For sure. But he's not a guy that's just going to line up and just play safety in an NFL in my position when you look up his intangibles. Now, before you guys hit me, before you guys nail me to the cross, again, I'm a Sione Vaki fan. I'm very happy that he landed in Detroit. I'm just not buying into. I feel like he's one of those guys that all of a sudden he hasn't taken an NFL snap, and this dude is already 7 foot tall, 300 pounds, and a Hall of Famer, right? Let's pump the brakes just a little bit. Now, do I think Sione Vaki is going to have a phenomenal impact on special teams? I do. Do I think that he's going to make some key plays throughout the season that can help us win some football games? I do. But when we're talking about a huge role at multiple positions and all of this stuff, Sione Vaki is going to be a special teams player in the 2024 season. That's what he's going to be. I don't see him being any more than that. All these gadget type things and all of this stuff. I just don't see it. We only have one football, and we're talking about Sam Laporta. We're talking about David Montgomery. We're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. We're talking about J-Mo. We're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We only got one football, guys. We only got one football, right? And we ain't even got into Cleve Raymond and stuff yet. So we just got to pump the brakes on what he's going to actually be. But with that said, I do believe in him and I'm super high on him. And I might have a take that maybe people are going to actually say that I'm crazy about. So getting away from the secondary stuff, because again, I think the Detroit Lions evaluated him perfectly. I think he's playing in a position that he should be playing in, and he's just not a true NFL secondary player at this level. But what I think he could be, and he needs to get the opportunity to be, and I'm gonna tread lightly here because I'm not saying that he is 100%, but I'm saying from what I watch on the film, the statistics and the potential, I think that he is a guy who could end up being a running back contributor. Here's why. Other than the film, when I look at the stats, the combine breakdowns, the combine gives you the real heights and weights and times. This isn't at your pro day. This isn't in your uncle's backyard where he's timing you and telling you ran a 4.3. No, this is the NFL combine where they're giving legit numbers. Sione was 5'11", 210 pounds. 40 was 4.62, 4.62. 10-yard split was the 1.54, which I like, guys. 1.54 is a lot of guys that run that 1.54 who are productive in the NFL. Vertical was almost 40 inches, 39.5. Broad jump of 10.5. Bench press reps of 20 repetitions. And he's only 22 years old. Guys, those are numbers that I really like. I really like those numbers. I really like how those numbers align with the film because I talk about it all the time. It's not just about the numbers. It's about first, what does that film say? And then that will lead me to go and see what the numbers say. But here's what's really intriguing to me. When we compare that to none other than the Detroit Lions, Chuck Bruce. If you don't know who Chuck Bruce is, that is Demo David Montgomery. The numbers are very comparable. So David Montgomery's combine stats, 5'10", 222 pounds. 40-yard dash was 4.63. 10-yard split was 1.55. Vertical was 28.5. Broad jump was 10.1. And the bench was 15 reps. So David Montgomery's numbers were actually worse than Sione Vaki's. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean, hey guys, Sione Vaki is obviously the better running back? Absolutely not. But what I do see is a guy who has the type of numbers that could lead to him being productive. And he also has the proper mentality. I took some time to do some digging on Sione Vaki, just to do looking through some stories. And when you watch the tape, you dig into his story. We're talking about a young man who has a tremendous faith. When he was digging into um the college process of recruiting and trying to decide where he was going to go to school, where most guys lead with what type of offense or defense, or where you're going to play me, or how soon am I going to get an opportunity to get on the field. He led his recruiting process with his faith. He's also a guy who fought through losing his mother a few years ago to cancer. He's highly motivated and highly driven by honoring her memory. This is a kid who, to me, it just completely fits what the Detroit Lions are about. He is a tough, gritty kid. He's a highly motivated kid. He's a kid that's always doing the right things. You don't ever have to worry about him being in the newspaper for, getting in trouble, like some of that the Cam Suttons of the world and stuff like that. And he's a guy that's committed to being the best football player that he can be and the best human being he can be. You talk about feel good stories. This is another one. The Detroit Lions are full of players who are high character guys that were captains on their high school and college teams, guys that are highly driven. And I think that all this combination of things, plus the statistics in the film, are going to put Craig Reynolds in a lot of trouble, right? A lot of trouble. But again, I think that leads to the Detroit Lions potentially cutting players that are going to get picked up by other teams. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm cheering against Craig Reynolds because I really like Craig Reynolds. I think that Craig Reynolds has done some great things in Detroit. I think that he's a tough, gritty, hard runner. And I just don't think that he's a guy that you can send to the practice squad without getting picked up. But I also, when I look at Sione Vaki, I see a young man who could be the answer to when we move on from David Montgomery, right? So in a few seasons, when David Montgomery's contract is up, I could see Sione Vaki potentially stepping into that David Montgomery role, being the complimentary back to Jahmyr Gibbs, and us just moving forward with Sione and letting David Montgomery go into free agency, retire, or whatever he sees fit to do for the next chapter of his career. It's actually super exciting to me because we've already talked about how we believe that we have at Detroit in 313 the best running back duo in the NFL. Now we've added another piece to that running back duo. And I think that not only could we turn it into the best running back trio, I think that moving forward, we could have two young dogs and just keep this thing going for years and years. It's another example of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell just loading this roster. And I'm super excited for it, man, because we just have guys who are battle tested. Sione's a guy who went to high school with none other than Najee Harris, right? So he understands what it is to be a great running back, right? So he's done the things that the Detroit Lions do. What do? They line you up with phenomenal competition to get the best out of you. So he's been doing that since high school. Showed out at Utah on both sides of the football. The Detroit Lions, I don't think is going to be anything different. He's going to be around David Montgomery. He's going to be around Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to do the things that he needs to do to rise to the occasion. And I think that he's going to be successful. And in the meantime of being a successful running back, he is going to be a successful special teamer immediately, in my opinion. Now, that's just an opinion. That's just a guess. I don't have anything to back that other than what they said about him in minicamp, how they said that he was doing phenomenally at minicamp and what I've seen on film. But I truly believe that Sione Vaki is going to be a contributor for the Detroit Lions now, playing a huge role in the 2024 season. I think that we probably should pump the brakes on that, but I think he's going to make some key plays, and he's going to do some awesome things, and his future is very bright. So, guys, put it in the comments. Do you think that maybe I'm selling Sione Vaki a little bit short? Do you think that I'm dead on with my assessment? And what do you think that he's going to do in this 2024 season? Do you think that he's going to be a guy that plays on both sides of the football? Is he just going to be a special teamer? Is he going to win that running back three role? Like, what is your thoughts on it? And what do you want to hear us talk about in the future? That's it for today. I'm excited to be back, guys. Let me know what you want to hear me talking about. And until next time, peace.